Have you ever had that feeling like you're constantly running on a clock that just isn't your own? Well, the source material we're diving into today proposes something pretty radical, that the way we measure time isn't just a tool, it's the actual operating system for our minds. And if that system is fundamentally flawed, what does that do to our reality?
This one sentence right here is the key to everything. The whole argument from our source is built on this. Our consciousness, our very reality, is shaped by how we perceive time. So it follows that if our idea of time is all twisted and unnatural, then our minds are going to be too. So, okay, where does all this distortion come from? The source points to this hidden system it calls the ledger of control. You can think of it like an invisible architecture for our lives. It's an artificial frequency that's always running in the background, organizing modern life in ways we don't even notice. Now, according to the source, this system works through all these different layers, these agendas that stack on top of each other. It all starts by just disconnecting us from natural rhythms, replacing the seasons with rigid schedules. Then you've got the whole entertainment world blurring the lines between what's real and what's illusion. And finally, media narratives come in and build the very walls of how we're allowed to think. And these agendas, the source claims, go all the way to the top. Life itself gets turned into just another variable on an economic spreadsheet. Politics starts following these huge globalist frameworks. War becomes a permanent business model. And overseeing it all is what the source calls a deep state. A pretty controversial idea for sure, but it suggests this unaccountable power structure where real responsibility just, it evaporates. And here's where it gets really interesting. The source argues that the word agenda itself gives the whole game away. It's not just some neutral to-do list. In the original Latin, an agenda is literally an account book or a ledger. This ties the entire concept of control directly to these ancient systems of finance, taxation, and institutional power. But this artificial system, it's not perfect. It starts to show some serious cracks when you hold it up to the natural world. And the first, most obvious crack, according to the source, is in the very calendar we hang on our walls. Our source basically says the Gregorian calendar makes no sense. I mean, just look at this. September comes from the Latin word for 7, but it's our 9th month. October means 8, but it's the 10th, and so on. The source claims this isn't just some quirky leftover from history, it's a deliberate distortion that's been built right into how we see time. And it goes even deeper than that. The days of the week, right? Yeah, they're named after planets and celestial bodies. But the order they're in is totally arbitrary. It doesn't match the actual order of our solar system at all. True cosmic order, the source says, was thrown out and replaced by simple man-made convention. And all of this, it leads us to a single fundamental number. A number that the source claims is the key to unlocking a much more natural rhythm. A rhythm that's been deliberately hidden from us. And that number is 13. So here you can see the two systems side by side, and the contrast is just stark. On one side, you have the artificial, inconsistent 12-month calendar. And on the other, you have the consistent, rhythmic reality of biology. The source points out that the female body doesn't run on 12 cycles a year, it runs on 13 28-day ovulation cycles. One is a rhythm of control, the other is the rhythm of life itself. And it's this massive contradiction between the mechanical clock and the biological body that brings us to a huge turning point in the argument. This is what the source calls a cosmic awakening, the moment the whole illusion of artificial time just starts to shatter. And this forces us to ask a really profound question. I mean, one that kind of shakes the foundation of our daily lives. What if the problem isn't just that our calendar's a little off? What if our entire concept of linear, mechanical time is the real illusion? So once we start questioning that old paradigm, the source invites us to check out an alternative, a universal frequency that's based on a natural cosmic rhythm. It's often called the 1320, and it's based on a frequency of 1328. So the source brings in the TunUc, which is the traditional solar-lunar calendar of the Maya. But it's not presented as some dusty historical artifact. No, it's presented as a living, breathing, totally coherent system that is perfectly in sync with the actual cycles of the cosmos, from the sun and the moon right down to the water and the cycles inside our own bodies. And this, right here, is the absolute core of it all. The source material says we basically have a choice between two fundamental frequencies to live by. There's the 1260 frequency, 12 months, 60 minutes, which creates a kind of mechanical prison logic where time is money. Or there's the 1328 frequency,
13 moons of 28 days, which is all about synchronizing with life, where time is art. And you want to know where the proof is? The source claims it's not in some ancient book or carved in a stone somewhere. It's in our own bodies. It points out that every one of us has 13 major joints. Ankles, knees, hips, wrists, elbows, shoulders, and the neck. It describes these joints as a biological tuning fork, perfectly designed to resonate with this natural 13-moon frequency.
Now, trying to describe this universal energy, the source gets pretty poetic, using these really powerful metaphors. It calls this cosmic rhythm an orgasmic Mexican wave that's just constantly surging through all of creation, a divine cosmic dance that reconnects the heavens with the earth. The whole as above, so below idea.
So what's the big takeaway here? What are we supposed to do with all this? Well, the final section of the source presents this knowledge not just as some cool theory, but as a legitimate tool, a hammer of truth for achieving personal freedom and sovereignty. And this really brings us to the core challenge that the source material throws down. This isn't just some philosophical idea to kick around. It's a personal choice, and it has real consequences. Are you going to stay in the stagnation of the old artificial system, or are you going to consciously choose to join the new wave?
And finally, the source offers a pretty clear 4-step path for anyone who actually wants to make the shift. First, you shatter the artificial timeline. Start recognizing that things like deadlines and even holidays are just steering mechanisms. Second, you align with the moon, with the natural rhythm of the 13-moon 28-day cycle. Third, you activate that energetic connection within yourself. And lastly, you connect with a community that actually lives this idea that time is art, not money.
So, we're left with this final, really provocative question about where we choose to stand in this moment. The source claims the old structure is already broken. The blockade is shattered. So the only choice left is, are you going to stand around in the debris of that old world, or are you going to ride the powerful wave of what's coming next?
And on that thought, we'll wrap up this journey into the clockwork and the cosmos. The source leaves us with this one beautiful, powerful idea. Time isn't some resource to be managed or saved. It's a canvas for creation. Time is art. Welcome to the 1320.